Does Dan Wheldon have anything left? If he's got it, he's got to pull the trigger now. Here we go, down the backstretch. Wheldon on the high side by side, through three. Who's going to win it? Castroneves on the inside, Wheldon on the outside, at the stripe. It is Wheldon! Wheldon beats Castroneves. His 10th career win, second straight here at Homestead. I couldn't believe it. Wheldon on the outside by a foot.
Victory Lane is going to welcome Dan Wheldon as he salutes his team and wins the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. It's an Andretti Great Racing sweep. Dan Wheldon leading Scott Dixon and Sam Hornish Jr. Guys, Dan Wheldon is going to win for the third time in 4 starts. This guy is hot as a pistol. Dan Wheldon will win the Toyota Indy 300. The dominant car, the dominant driver, the dominant team here this afternoon. Wheldon holds on. Castroneves around Mira. And Dan Wheldon takes the win. Second of the season. Dan Wheldon trying to pull up the double-double and give Honda its first win at Twin Ring Motegi. I guess you know who won it, Dan Wheldon. Dan Wheldon has officially become the 2005 IndyCar Series champion.
I would just love to win the Indianapolis 500 once. I mean, I'd love my face on the Borg-Warner Trophy, and we're going to do all we can to try and make that happen. But, you know, it's one of those races where everything's got to go absolutely right in order to do it.
Good morning, race fans. This is Tom Carnegie. Get ready for the greatest spectacle in racing.
Amberton, English, Dan Wheldon. He's going to move to the inside of the Roscoe, Illinois native. They're side by side. Wheldon will try to take the lead into one. And he will get the job done. Wheldon put down to the white line. Dan Wheldon really starting to stretch it out now. Wheldon at the exit of 3 has about a 15-car length advantage.
Dan Wheldon has opened things up. He's won 3 of the first 4 races this year. Could it be 4 or 5?
We're definitely seeing history here. This is one of the most amazing Indianapolis 500s ever.
Dan Wheldon winning the 89th Indy 500 as an Englishman will roll into victory lane at the world's greatest racecourse for the first time in 4 decades.
Guys, I'm not emotional, but I'm crying. I can't believe I've just won the Indianapolis 500.
This has been a dream come true for me. I've loved the Indianapolis 500 ever since I've been a young kid. You know, there's the best drivers in the world here, the best teams in the world, and I'm having an emotional moment. I'm just so proud.
33 cars, 33 drivers, 33 teams anxiously awaiting the command to fire engines.
J.R. Hildebrand trying to conserve fuel, trying to do the unthinkable, win his first Indianapolis 500.
He hits the wall coming out of 4. Will he have enough to cross the yard of bricks?
Who will win? Who is the winner?
Just like that, Dan Wheldon grabs the victory. Incredible, Dan Wheldon.
An amazing day, an amazing day. I love the Indianapolis 500. I love everything about it, and I'm so glad to be drinking milk again and to be a 2-time winner. I just didn't want to give up.
Quit your blubbering and have a
10 years ago, on October 16, 2011, at Las Vegas Motorsports during the IndyCar World Championships, the IndyCar World and the racing world lost Dan Wheldon in a horrific crash. such a tragic day for that. Dan Wheldon was one of IndyCar's most popular drivers. He was, at the time of his death, he was actually testing the brand new car for 2012 called the DW12 in his honor. I tell you, to this day, it just breaks my heart that if you jump back 10 years later, you have the aero screen in IndyCar. If the aero screen was intact 10 years ago, I'm pretty sure that Dan Wheldon would have survived that crash. But it was the way it was the way his head hit the barrier. So it's Corey, Xavier, you guys have any fond memories of either that day or of Dan Wheldon's legendary career?
2011 the 2011 Indianapolis 500 is when I think Dan Wheldon, that's what I think. J.R. Hillebrand coming off turn 4, smacks the outside wall, and the next thing you know, Dan Wheldon takes the lead and wins the race.
All right. I'd probably say for me, I could just remember like watching that race, and of course, what kind of like struck me was that, you go to Vegas and it's a 1.5-mile racetrack. Now keep this in mind, Vegas was reconfigured back in like 2006, so IndyCar hasn't raced there since like 2005 or so forth, whatever. But I think like the way like that weekend pretty much progressed, I think IndyCar kind of hyped it up like too much, because then of course, you had the $5 million bonus, whoever would start in the back, win the race gets the $5 million, and then the fan would share the $1 million as well. But I just remember like watching the race that day. And of course it was kind of like almost watching a race at Daytona and Talladega, where everybody was just like drafting like side by side. And probably like the first 10 laps, I kind of said to myself, there's no way they can race like this for 10 laps. There's literally no way. And then of course, you had the two cars that touched, and then once those guys touched, everyone started checking up. And of course, that was when we saw Dan Wheldon's car fly into the catch fence, and then we saw another car fly, kind of hit like the barrier or so forth. And I tell you one thing, like, when you put like IndyCar at Vegas and you have the field the size of the Indianapolis 500, I mean, why would you want to put so many cars on a 1.5-mile racetrack? I mean, if you put so many cars on a racetrack like that, what do you think is going to happen? And then that's what happened that day. And I watched one of the documentaries today from Brock Beard, and one question that kind of struck me the most was, how much is too much? Because at that time, this was the last year with IndyCar's regular car, whatever you call it, with the aerodynamics, because the next year they were going to go to the DW12, and that was going to help prevent, cars from going airborne, and, and with the safety innovations in between, I thought it would be pretty impressive. So, but after that wreck happened, I kind of said, I really hope everybody was all right. And then once, Randy Bernard sent out the news, I think that was just basically heartbreaking for everybody. I mean, you could just like, and honestly, with that wreck and, with the announcement of Dan Wheldon, you could have just thought, they should have just gone off the air like right there, but I will admit, like, I wasn't a Dan Wheldon fan at the time when I first started getting into IndyCar, but I really like respected what he did. And not only that, he was not only a good racer, but he was also really great with his fans, and his fans really loved him too. And actually, if you look at his stats, he had 133 starts, 16 wins, 43 podium finishes, and his average finish of all time, his average finish career-wise was an 8.1, so it was pretty impressive. But I would probably say one fine memory about him, would definitely have to be the Indy 500 10 years ago. Of course, that was when J.R. Hillebrand crashed on the last lap and Wheldon took the checkered flag and won. And of course, we all knew what happened 5 months later and so forth. But after that, I started kind of pondering a few days ago, and I said, damn, I can't believe it's been 10 years since he passed. But not only that, but look what's happened the last 10 years ever since he passed. I mean, the cars are a lot safer. You don't see a lot of cars getting airborne that much anymore. I mean, we did see a few cars get airborne, you know, within the past couple of years. I mean, I can remember one car going airborne at California, and that was the last time that IndyCar raced on a 2-mile racetrack. And then the most recent one I remember was the one where Robert Wickens hit the catch fence at Pocono, which that sidelined him for months. And honestly, like that wreck, I said, "Oh my goodness, he's dead." Like I thought he was dead. Like the amount of impact of that wall, and miraculously he came out alive. And surely enough, you know, IndyCar stopped racing at Pocono. But I just think for the future of IndyCar, I mean, now the fact that it's owned by Roger Penske, I'm really hoping that, you know, IndyCar can go to a lot more tracks next year, like mostly like, you know, like 1 miles and I don't know, like maybe like 1 mile and short tracks, like, you know, the tracks that they never raced on before, you know, like New Hampshire and Milwaukee and everywhere else and so forth. But I have a feeling, you know, I think IndyCar is going to be in a really bright future, especially with Penske. But yeah, other than that, you know, a lot of fans, you know, including myself, you know, still we all still miss Dan Wheldon to this day.
I remember watching that race of Vegas. I thought the same thing. At first, I saw them all racing. I was like, this is going to be a fun race.
Right.
They're all so close to each other. I had it in the back of my head. Okay, something could happen that could be really serious.
Yeah.
But it's just when we didn't think about that because we were watching the battling all over the track.
Right.
And we saw the two cars collide, went up the track in the wall, and then next thing we know, we see Dan Wheldon flying into the catch fence.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was Dan at first.
No.
Then we saw Will Power get airborne and smack the wall. Both, and then just flames all over. We knew right away the driver was hurt. There was no way you're going to walk away from a crash like that uninjured.
No.
In those type of cars.
Oh, not at all. But just think about, you know, all the events that were shaping up that day before that accident. I mean, you had Will Power and Dario Franchitti battling it out for the championship that year. You had Danica Patrick's last race, you know, in IndyCar before she went off to NASCAR full time, and of course raced until like 2017, 18-ish or whatever. And then, of course, you know, it was also the last year for the car. And then, of course, the next year would be the DW12. I mean, I can kind of compare this, you know, to the Daytona 500, you know, 20 years ago. The fact that, you know, it was the first year on Fox and it was the first time that this aero package was going to be raced at Daytona. And then that year, of course, you know, we ended up losing Dale Sr. because, of course, you know, he dies in the last lap crash at Daytona. And look what happened after that. You know, not only NASCAR pretty much did a lot of safety checks on that, but that was when, of course, they mandated everybody to wear the Hans had a neck restraint and so forth. But again, you know, as much as I love racing and the fact that, you know, racing is very exciting and it's a great sport, keep this in mind. Racing is also a dangerous sport too. I mean, we've seen a lot of wrecks throughout the years that are horrific. I mean, I could go back to last year when Ryan Newman had his wreck at the Daytona 500. And the part where he gets hit in the driver's side door while he was upside down, I knew that was going to be pretty bad. And I literally said to myself, we literally just saw a driver die on national television. That's what I thought, you know, when that happened. But, of course, they got him out of the car. They took him to the hospital. And then next thing you know, 3 days later, he's walking out of the hospital with his 2 daughters. And I thought that was just remarkable. And I still say, you know, how Ryan Newman got out of that car. Well, how he got out of the hospital after surviving a wreck like that. Damn, I have literally no idea at all, you know. But that just goes to show you for all motorsports, you know, all motorsports in general do a really good job when it comes to safety. And they never, and I hate to say this, but they never miss a goddamn step. Never.
No, absolutely. So, like nothing out of it. There, here's I got some footage of Dan Wheldon actually talking about the new car that they eventually raced the following year in his name.
Unbelievably competitive. I'm still a firm believer that karting is the purest form of motorsport. There's certainly a lot less politics involved, and it's an unbelievable group of drivers. I think there's 88 in the class that I'm doing, and I think you got to say 50 or 60 of them are amazing. Yeah, it becomes very physical as the more rubber goes down. The steering weight becomes heavy, and obviously it seems a lot more violent than the IndyCar. But when you look at the paddock, I think it shows the professionalism of where karting has got to. I mean, a lot of the transporters here would look very good in an IndyCar paddock. I mean, obviously Roger Penske has a great setup, but if you look down the road at Sodikart's setup, they had a DJ spinning last night. I felt like I was in a nightclub when I popped my head in.
Okay, it was karting actually, my fault.
Yeah.
But these images though, like they just want to give you chills because these were the last images of him pre-race.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes you wonder, like, how, but like you said, how are you going to put 34 cars on a track that's not Indianapolis, knowing something bad is going to happen? That race didn't even last 15 laps before that crash happened.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, and it just boggles my mind, And it's like earlier, like, who knew that this right here would be his last IndyCar win?
He's got half a lap to go, and he's the Indy 500 champion. Panther Racing, oh so good. They finished second here, twice here. They come again through the final two corners. J.R. Hildebrand. Careful of traffic. He's got to get around the lap. Traffic. 100 years. No! He hit the wall. Oh, my goodness. Keep your foot on the gas. Dan Wheldon is going to win the race. That is unbelievable. Oh, my goodness. Wheldon, after finishing second the last 2 years, wins when J.R. Hildebrand hits the wall coming out of 4, just as Scheckter did. What a tremendous finish.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's like that. It's like, I tell you what, if JR could, trust me, I've done that playing in Project Cars 2.
Yeah.
I actually came out that corner. I was like, I got this. I actually came out the corner and actually smacked the wall. Coming out of the corner, I'm like, okay, Indianapolis is no joke. Especially when you're like,
no.
Especially like race on the line. Like, I've been there twice, been at the 500 twice. And both times have I seen crazy crashes. Like, for example, the last race I went to in 2017, Scott Dixon, I don't know how the heck he survived that accident. But he hit that catch fence and that wall pretty hard over in turn 1.
And I remember watching that crash too, and I said to myself, if his helmet or anywhere, if he would have hit that catch fence, he would have been badly hurt or dead. But
right, it's like,
yeah.
And it's like with Pocono, and there's also another reason why Pocono is not on the schedule no more. Justin Wilson.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Justin Wilson suffered that when that piece of that debris flew and hit him in his helmet, which he eventually died from his injuries. Which to this day I'm still trying to figure out, how hard did that piece of debris hit his helmet enough to give him that scar, to give him that injury to his head that eventually took his life. It still boggles my mind to this day.
Right. Yeah, because I kind of look at that. I kind of look at that crash and I say to myself, like, because that was like right before, they had the closed cockpit they have today. But yeah, anytime like, you get hit with a piece of debris and you're going at like, I don't know, maybe 100 miles an hour and you get hit. Yeah, I think that's what might have happened with Wilson, because from what I heard, I think he got hit by like the nose piece or something. The nose piece was bouncing up in the air and it bonked him right in the helmet, which that pretty much put him in a coma. And then I guess he died, I think, like, what was it, a couple of days later or something?
I think it was 3.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember that one. And yeah, that one was, that one I would probably say that was pretty much a freak accident.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, but I just appreciate all the safety features that IndyCar has done this year, including F1 with their halo and stuff. Because I tell you what, if it wasn't for the halo, there could have been a lot of guys lost their lives or injured.
I saw that. I saw that picture with Lewis Hamilton and that car that was with the tire that was near his helmet. And a lot of people were saying, well, this is the one part that I kind of questioned on. And a lot of people were saying, like, oh, this Halo thing is just stupid. Why is it on the F1? It just ruins it, whatever. And then after that whole thing happened, everybody's like, now that Halo should be on there for a reason. And I think that's the reason why, that Halo's on there, because had that not would have been on there, we would have not seen Lewis Hamilton race again.
And it's how I felt about the aero screen. If it wasn't for the aero screen, I mean, look at the aero screen. The first time it was ever run at Iowa Speedway, when they IndyCar those a couple years ago, when they first did it, tire goes flying across Will Power, and it's like, if it was for Halo, like, Jarvis could have got hurt. So this Halo and this aero screen has really saved the lives. And hopefully we don't see another death in the car again. But Dan Wheldon was, as we have mentioned, it has been 10 years since the death of Dan Wheldon. We're going to sign off on this tribute episode of Dan Wheldon Motorsports Race Talk. We'll start in about 10 minutes. But before we leave, I have a video that I would like to share of Marty Reed's final send-off to Dan Wheldon.
All right.
With this, we close out the season, Scott. Like I said, not the way we were anticipating at all.
Absolutely not, Marty. And I think of Dan Wheldon, just a superb person, a very, very fast race driver, somebody that I'm going to certainly miss, not only here at the IndyCar track, but saw him all the time at the kart track, and somebody that all the young drivers looked up to, Eddie.
And will continue to look up to an amazing human being with so much enthusiasm, and I'm in a total loss. I just can't believe what just happened.
He always had a smile on his face. In fact, he had actually done 3 television broadcasts with our Versus crew, the people that do the races when we're not on. And who knows, he may have had a career there. Many people ask me why I always sign off till we meet again. Because goodbye is always so final. Goodbye, Dan Wheldon.
Your forehead.
My forehead is on it.